Stop scrolling for just a moment, because if you receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, survivor benefits, or spousal benefits, the January 2026 payment schedule brings several important changes you need to understand before the new year begins. Many people assume January is just another routine month, but every single year, January works differently. And for 2026, those differences are even more important. Payment dates shift, deposit timing changes, income limits reset, and new rules quietly take effect that can affect when your money arrives, how much you receive, and whether anything unexpected happens with your check. Today, I'm going to walk you through the full January 2026 Social Security payment schedule, explain what's changing, why some people will receive their money earlier than expected, why others may see delays, and what you should double-check now to avoid problems later. Stay with me, because even one small misunderstanding in January can cause weeks of stress if you're not prepared. Let's start with the most important thing to understand about January Social Security payments. January is not just the first month of the year, it is a transition month. It's where old rules end, new rules begin, and the Social Security Administration resets many systems at the same time. This includes payment calendars, benefit calculations, income thresholds, and administrative processing. That's why January checks often confuse people. Some arrive early, some look different, and some raise questions that don't come up the rest of the year. Understanding this now gives you peace of mind. First, let's break down the January 2026 Social Security payment schedule for retirement benefits, SSDI, and survivor benefits. As always, the SSA uses the birth date system for most recipients. If your birthday falls between the 1st and the 10th of the month, your January payment is scheduled for the second Wednesday of January. If your birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, your payment is scheduled for the third Wednesday of January. If your birthday falls between the 21st and the 31st, your payment is scheduled for the fourth Wednesday of January. This system applies to retirement benefits, SSDI, and survivor benefits, unless you fall into a special category, which we'll talk about shortly. Now, here's where January becomes different. Because of how the calendar falls, some payments may feel earlier or later than usual. In addition, banks and credit unions handle January deposits differently because of New Year processing, weekend timing, and federal clearing schedules. Many people see pending deposits earlier than usual, while others don't see their funds until later in the day. This does not automatically mean there is a problem. It often means your bank processes January payments more cautiously due to the New Year reset. Now let's talk about SSI, because SSI works completely differently in January. SSI payments are normally scheduled for the first of the month. However, when the first of the month falls on a weekend or federal holiday, the payment is sent early. This is extremely important for January. If January 1st falls on a federal holiday, which it does, SSI payments are issued early, usually in late December. This means many SSI recipients will receive their January payment before the year even begins. This is not a bonus payment. This is not an extra check. It is simply your January payment arriving early. Unfortunately, every year, many people think they received two payments and then panic in February when no new payment arrives early. Planning ahead prevents that stress. Now let's discuss people who receive Social Security before May 1997. If you began receiving benefits before May 1997, your payment schedule is completely different. You are paid on the 3rd of every month, regardless of your birthday. For January 2026, if the 3rd falls on a weekend or holiday, your payment will be issued early. This group often receives their January payment in late December, which again creates confusion if you're not expecting it. Nothing is wrong. It's simply the calendar. Another important January change involves deposit timing. Many banks process January payments differently than other months. Large banks often release funds between midnight and early morning hours, but January deposits sometimes post later in the day due to year-end system resets. Credit unions vary even more. Some release funds early, others wait until business hours. If your payment does not appear immediately, SSA advises waiting at least 3 business days before reporting a problem. Calling too early can actually slow things down. Now let's talk about benefit amounts, because January is when new benefit calculations take effect. Any annual adjustments, including cost of living changes, officially apply to January payments. That means your January check may be slightly higher than December's. However, some people notice that the increase feels smaller than expected. This can happen for several reasons, including Medicare premiums, income-related adjustments, or tax withholding changes. January is when all of these systems sync up. Income limits also reset in January. This matters a lot for people who work part-time while receiving Social Security or SSDI. The annual earnings limit resets on January 1st. That means income you earn in January counts toward the new year, not the old one. This can be helpful, but only if you track it correctly. Some people accidentally exceed limits early in the year without realizing it, which can lead to benefit reductions later. January is also when SSA reviews eligibility status for certain programs. This does not mean everyone is reviewed, but January is a common month for system updates, data matching, and administrative reviews. That's why it's important that your address, bank information, and personal details are accurate going into the new year. Small errors can cause big delays. Another change that affects January payments is how holidays impact processing. Federal holidays at the start of the year can slow down verification steps, especially if SSA needs to resolve an issue with your account. This is why January is not the best month to ignore mail from SSA. Any letter you receive should be opened and reviewed carefully. Let's talk about common January mistakes that cause unnecessary stress. One mistake is assuming a delayed payment automatically means SSA made an error. In many cases, it's simply a banking delay. Another mistake is assuming an early payment is extra money. It is not. Budgeting mistakes in January can cause serious problems later in the month. Another mistake is waiting until February or March to fix an issue that started in January. January problems are easier to fix early. Now let's talk about what you should do right now to prepare. First, log into your My Social Security account and confirm your information. Second, review your expected payment dates so you know exactly when to expect your money. Third, plan your January budget with the understanding that deposit timing may shift slightly. Fourth, watch your mail closely for any notices from SSA. And fifth, if you work part-time, track your income carefully from the first day of January. It's also important to understand that January sets the tone for the rest of the year. Issues that start in January often repeat if not corrected. That's why being proactive now saves stress later. Before we wrap up, let me be very clear about something. The January 2026 Social Security payment schedule does not mean benefits are ending, being cut, or disappearing. Most changes are administrative and calendar-based. But confusion spreads fast online, especially around the new year. That's why reliable information matters. Here's what we know for sure. Payments will continue. Schedules follow established rules. Early payments are not bonuses. Delays are usually temporary, and preparation makes all the difference. If you found this explanation helpful, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Many people in this community are dealing with the same questions, and your comment helps others feel less alone. And if you want clear, calm updates like this throughout the year, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss important information when it matters most. Take care of yourself, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next update.